Well, this is our first time to try go deeper conversations. We've had some devotionals, but this time around we wanted to try to go a little bit deeper into some specific topics. And so today I'm sitting here with Cassy, our executive admin, and Jackie, our family pastor, and we are specifically going to talk about parenting and screen time and what that does to our kids, and just try to get a different perspective on it. As parents, we're all kind of experts of success and failure.
Mostly failure.
Mostly failure.
Mostly failure.
With screen time. And honestly, not just for our kids either. Sometimes it's just as bad for ourselves too.
Absolutely.
Because I think we all use it as escapes, and we love it. We got to get that itch. Want to ask you guys just to kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves and about what you do, and maybe your style of parenting, because we might all three have a different way to parent, different perspectives and everything. Jackie is family pastor. What is it about you that makes you a expert?
Okay, well, I am not an expert, but I am a mom. I'm a parent, and as a family pastor in my position, I have the ability to connect and talk with kids on a regular basis, connect and talk with parents on a regular basis about the things and the challenges and struggles and things that they see within their kids, or I see within my own kids, and try to tackle them from a biblical perspective. We all have those, nudges from the Holy Spirit on your heart of like, ooh, this could be a problem. This could be something that's hindering my kids from their relationship with Jesus, or hindering my kids from their relationship with others. And screen time, I know, is a big one in my house. Of something that I wrestle with literally every day, on how to navigate it for them, how to navigate it for myself, how to navigate it just in a general, on a daily basis. So, yeah.
What are your kids' ages?
My oldest is 8, my middle is 6, and then my youngest is 3.
Yeah, now that matters, because at any given age, what they're watching, why they're watching it, how much time they spend doing it, that all tends to vary.
Oh, yes.
Across the board. So, Cassy, how about yourself?
I'm Cassy. I'm the executive administrator here. I have an 11-year-old girl. She'll be 11 in a month, and a 6-year-old boy with ADHD. And my parenting style is I try very hard to live by the fruits of the Spirit and have patience and kindness and gentleness with them. But sometimes that's hard. Like, especially with my little one, 6. He is crazy as can be. And after like the 5th time of saying, please get your shoes off, it does not sound like the most patient thing. So just trying to navigate how to parent kindly in the midst of the chaos.
It's a good effort. It's a good goal. Yeah, absolutely. So my kids, you guys know that I have a 13-year-old who is probably thinks he's going on 21, and an 11-year-old who also thinks she's going on probably 15 or 16, and then a 9-year-old. All three with very different personalities, from the justice-oriented to the wildly creative-oriented, and all the way down to the just playful trickster kind of thing. They're all wonderful. But in our family, the screen time and everything, it has adjusted over the years. We do really well on some things and really poorly on some others. And so I think that just as a parent, we're going to make mistakes. We're also going to succeed in some areas. With each and every one of our kids, it's the first time we've parented that kid. So even if you've done it a certain age with your oldest, when you get down to your second, it's a different person. The same thing's not going to work cookie cutter across the board, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have to have grace for ourselves. We got to have grace for ourselves. You've never done this before. No. And so as we grow, hopefully, prayerfully, we are seeking the Lord's wisdom on how to do things and what to do and when to do it. So that it is going to glorify God through our parenting, whether we're using screens or not. That has to be the goal, right? So, questions for you. So, the questions that I have here are phrased specifically as family pastor, but we're all parents, so we all have places to speak into it. So, so I'm going to rephrase some of these as I go through it.
That's right.
Okay. So, first of all, as parents or as family pastors, in the roles that we do, how does this filter and change into how you parent? Your spiritual background, your education, and everything else that you have. And along with that, what are common concerns or challenges that you've noticed in your own kids? Because obviously we're not going to have a bunch of stats or anything here. In your own kids or in the kids that you minister to regarding screen time. Common challenges, common concerns.
I think one of the biggest common challenges, especially with kids that are younger, is their constant need to be entertained at all times. So when you're trying to teach them something or, walk through something in the Bible with them or whatever it is, if it's not entertaining, the way the video game is entertaining, the way the screen's entertaining, the whatever, they just don't listen to you. They write you off. And the need, I know if I hear every second of the day, well, what are we going to do now? Well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Because they're so used to being constantly entertained. They're so used to constantly having something to get their brain thinking or do, you know what I mean?
It's like boredom is a dirty word.
Right.
They don't know how to handle boredom.
And they don't know how to choose another activity. Because they ask me that question, hoping I'm going to look at them and say, go ahead, play all the video games you want to play. Go ahead, watch all the shows you want to show. Like that's what they want me to say. And instead I'm like, I don't know. Go throw a ball outside. Mm-hmm. Go pick up a stick. And I don't know. But the constant need to be entertained for the younger ones. But then I think the older they get, they kind of lose their ability to interact socially with other people well. Even amongst their own friends, it's difficult for them to have conversations without a screen involved. Yeah. Or communicate I don't know, that lost art of conversation, the art of connecting with people, is a hard thing for.
Yeah, they're excellent at smack talk, over the video games, but horrible at actual conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about yourself, Cassy? What are common challenges or concerns that you've seen in families in general, in your own family?
I think both of my kids are different in the way that the way they struggle with it, I guess. My daughter, for example, we get serious attitude from it. A lot of hers is playing video games, and we try to limit that and have tried to set, an hour time limit a night. And we did that because it got to the point that anytime we would ask her to do something, anytime we'd say, hey, it's time to come to dinner, she would give us attitude. She would talk back. She would just plain out ignore us, because her sole purpose is she wanted to play these games with her friends. And then we noticed when we took her off of that and she would get grounded from it, she would be a completely different girl. Mm-hmm. She would be nice. She would be complimenting, all of those things. But the second we give it back, it spirals back into that. Mm-hmm. And then for our son in general, I just think, again, like you said, he can't entertain himself. It used to be you could play with toys or you could go outside or do those things. And I feel like that's not what they want to do anymore. I think a lot of his was COVID time and I started working from home. And so to get him to where he would be entertained and let me do my work, that's what it was. Because otherwise he's very much a mama's boy and he wants to be around me 24/7. So the only way that I found was here, have a tablet, go watch some TV or go play some games. And that way I could do my thing. So, and then it's an addiction, and now here we are.
It spirals.
Me going from I'll never do that with my kid to, now they're on it too much, and we're struggling, and it's so hard to just say, well, you can't have it anymore, because now it's an aggression, I guess, of you taking away and then feeling bad. So.
Yeah, we do that. We've especially seen this with our youngest, that inability to entertain himself. If even with the screen time limits that we have, when that limit's done, he doesn't know how to take care of himself. He's constantly in people's faces, trying to get something going. He wants everybody else to do everything else with him. Yeah. They don't want to, and all of a sudden his attitude and temperament just goes out the window. And it's a real problem. So what we do is to help curb some of that is we'll actually shut down their screens for like a month at a time, where you say, there's no switch. Don't ask for YouTube. Don't ask for this. It doesn't mean you're never going to have it, because if something comes up where we have to say, hey, mom and I are going out, we've got something to take care of, you guys can have that while we're gone, that's fine. But we'll just shut it down. And that's a horrifying thing for the boys. But for our girl, she gets excited. She's like, yes, finally my brothers will do something with me. Yeah. And then she just goes off and draws and doesn't talk to them anyway. So, right. But she doesn't care.
The hope is there.
Yeah, but she doesn't care at all about the screens. I mean, she enjoys it, but it's,
Yeah.
So even as far as like a discipline thing, that's not something we can take from her, because she doesn't care as much. But the boys,
yeah,
it's another story.
Yeah.
It's another story. Yeah, it's a real challenge and concern. Absolutely. So that's one of the things that we do to try to encourage healthy boundaries. Not that it necessarily works. And honestly, Sarah and I are on our phones. I'm usually, if I have my phone in my hand, I'm working.
Yeah. Right.
And I work a lot. But honestly, I like playing video games too. That's my generation. I grew up with video games. I have no problem with that. And so I also have to curb how much a controller is in my hands, looking at a screen while I'm saying this and saying, kids, you've been on the screens too long. Turn it off. I don't want to put mine down.
Yeah, I feel like that's the tension you sit with as a parent, because you work all day and then you come home, and a lot of times you want to unwind, and you want to be on your phone and play a game or watch a show or whatever. But in the same breath, you're also I know that that's also not great for me, and I'm trying to teach my kids those same boundaries or those same things, and telling them that they can't have them. But that's the hard tension.
And it is hard because they don't see you during the day when you are not doing the screen time.
Right.
They don't see any of that. What they see of us as parents is, they're on their phone again. They're playing games again. They're watching a show and not.
Or when you are on your phone, that doesn't necessarily mean just because I'm on my phone, that doesn't mean I'm playing a game or watching a show or doing something to entertain myself. You're emailing or texting or working or coordinating things or whatever. But they don't see that.
That's right.
They just think, oh, you get to be on screens all the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. My daughter was just saying something the other day. She's like, every time I come and watch a show with you, you're always on your phone. And it's most time it is. It's emails or answering a text message or something like that. But they do pick up on that. And the time that we're supposed to be doing something together, I find myself, it's just habit to just reach through. Even if I'm not doing anything, it's just just having it, I guess. Which
creates a whole other problem, not just screen time boundaries, but work-life boundaries.
Yeah.
That because we have these things always on us, it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough. I mean, so many times I'm doing this on my phone, and they're wanting to have a conversation with me, and I have to stop them and say, I need to get this thought out because somebody just asked me a very important question or a very emotional question. Yeah. I need to respond to this, or I'm not going to be able to respond to you. And I wish they didn't have to have that.
Right.
So, yeah, it's tough. So what else do you guys do then to help create healthy boundaries?
So something we started this school year, which was working really well at the beginning of the school year, was we did a no screen time Monday through Friday at our house. So they come home from school, they do their homework, and then we go to, whatever activity they have, if they've got baseball or football or dance or whatever. They've got their activity. We would read or whatever. We just were because if we gave them screen time, they would not focus on their homework or any responsibilities clean your room, put your laundry away. I don't know. You name a chore. It was just...
Be a human.
Yeah. Just never happened. Uh-huh. So that worked really well until winter. And then winter came and you're stuck inside, and they would come home, they'd do their homework, they'd do their chores, and then they'd be like, okay, now what? And I'm like, yeah, you can't go outside, it's dark, it's cold. Like, that worked really well until winter. But we, like, so we would, like, find ourselves giving them more time. Like, we're like, okay, you did all the things you're supposed to do. Here you go. You can have a little bit of screen time. But then I felt like then that bad habit just came back of them being on it before they got done with their chores, or being on it before they got done with their homework. But that worked for us, for our season of life, up until winter. And now the spring's coming back, and so we're revamping
Yes.
that back up. Go outside, do something like that. But setting those boundaries throughout the week was really helpful for our family. And it was just something we sat down with them, told them our expectation, explained why we were going to do this, what the purpose was. And that was really helpful for us. For me personally, as a mom, I really try when I'm at home with my kids to not be on my phone and to not be connected to it. And I repeat the phrase to myself in my head all the time of whatever is on my phone is not as important as the people in front of me. And I say that to myself over and over and over again, because work will come up, or emails will come up, or things will come up. And I get pulled away or sucked away. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of get sucked in that rabbit hole of one more thing. And then I miss out on time with my kids. And die. I'm dying right now.
And you're dying.
I'm dying right now, yeah.
Please don't die.
Really sick.
Right? Please don't die.
So, those are boundaries and things that
Yeah.
we try at our house.
Yeah. What about you, Cassy? What do you guys do?
Like I said, we've been trying this year to do like more of game time for my daughter, and then limiting again with my son, kind of his screen time. The thing that we, again, very similar to what you said, it's much easier to do when they're active, when it's sports season, when they can go outside, because then they have other things to keep them entertained. Otherwise, one of the things that we find, and it's us as parents, like, being selfish, because when they don't have screen time, they're fighting way more than they do normally. And so then we take those things away, and they're playing together, but then it's constantly screaming and crying and all of the things. And so we have found ourselves sometimes total that habit. We'll say, here, just go watch some TV, or here's your tablet. You can have it for a little while. Like, we need some peace and quiet. We're trying to have a conversation. We've got stuff we need to do. And so sometimes it's not just setting those boundaries for the kids, but also for us, and like just having to say, like, you know what, we have to put up with it, because otherwise, we're not setting the precedent, right, of what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's tough. I know when I was growing up, we had video games. We had the Nintendo and all that kind of stuff, and my brothers and I played a lot of it. But ultimately, my parents just sent us outside. And I think that still happens, where we can send our kids outside. And we do, but because our kids were real little in a major city where they couldn't just go outside, and they couldn't just go roam around their neighborhood, their habits and knowing how to be outside are just nil, You can't even get them to go outside and really play catch for a long time with each other, because eventually, and by eventually I mean about 30 seconds later, somebody's coming inside because the ball hit them in the face, or something, and it gets real difficult. We try to. They each have a Nintendo Switch, and like I said, we like video games, so I've got more than I should as far as systems go at the house. But so they each have their own Switch, and Nintendo has an app that allows us to put parental controls and actually limit how much time they can be on there. And it beeps at them when it's getting close to that amount of time. We can manage it from day to day. We could even set it, I don't do this, but I could have it automatically turn off their Switch as soon as their time is up, right? I don't do that because they want to save their game and that kind of stuff. And I'm not a monster,
That's fair.
Although I want to be
Nice
sometimes.
of you.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Well, I know how I would feel. And so that helps. And they probably still have more time than they should. Like we give them, I think it's an hour of switch time, maybe up to an hour and a half each night. And they're not allowed to get on their Switch until after all their homework is done, all their chores are done. Now for the third grader, he has almost no homework. And so he's like, I've read for my 10 minutes. I'm getting on my Switch. And it's like, can you please find something else to do first?
Okay.
And so that helps. The problem with it, though, is that it's almost a constant begging to disable their alarms.
Yeah.
Will you disable them? And I was like, no, stop it. Leave me alone. And then sometimes I give in because I'm like, yes, you're quiet.
Sure.
That's
I was
hard
feeling that peace and quiet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then even take Saturday, for example. When I was a kid, we had, I don't know what Saturday morning looked like for you two, because you're both younger than me. But we had Saturday morning cartoons, right? We didn't have Netflix and any of this other kind of stuff where you binged watch a show. And so it was a real joy on Saturday morning to get up, turn on the TV, have some screen time. We didn't call it screen time back then.
Right.
We called it Saturday morning cartoons, and Mom and Dad loved it. We were glued to the TV, watching our Muppet Babies and Thundercats and Transformers and all the good stuff, the good old days, eating our cereal. And my kids don't get that.
Yeah.
Because everything is streamed. They don't have that experience of this is the time to watch our shows, right? So to help replicate some of that, we also have an Xbox that's for them to play, but they're not allowed to play it until Saturday. So that's like the special. Don't even ask us. That Xbox stays off because otherwise between Switch, Xbox, iPad, the Chromebooks they have from school, YouTube, TV.
Right, it's like screen time's done on one device, so I'll pick up the other device.
Right.
And then I'll go to a different device.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My time limit's up here, so can I just go do this now?
Yep.
They're always asking to play our Oculus Quest, and that's a constant no.
Yeah.
Because one, that's mine, and I don't want to share it. And I don't want to sit there and change all the settings constantly for them and adjust the headset because they haven't figured out how to do it themselves yet. Yeah. So, but even that is like a screen right in front of their face. I don't even do it very often because it's right there. So yeah, it is. It's nonstop. It's I'm done with this. Can I go to that? You took this one away, but you didn't take this one away. So when we discipline, like how far do we go with even that? Like, do you actually say nothing? It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
It's hard to do. So then we've kind of touched on some of these others, like what role do you believe parents should play in modeling healthy screen time? Probably a pretty heavy role.
Yeah, well, because their kids are really good at throwing that guilt back at you.
Sure.
Like when you say no to the no screen time or no to that or no to whatever, like they're like, but you're on your phone. Or my kids say all the time, like, get off your phone. You're not, like they are real good at that guilt trip back. So
Sure are. Don't you love them for it?
Yeah, but it's also sometimes it's a good check. Like, okay, if you're noticing this behavior in me, it's obviously bothered you enough for you to say something. So,
do you know what my kids do with that? Is they also turn that into a manipulation to act like they want to spend time with us, but really they just want to do more screen time. So when everything else is done and we draw on those boundaries, it's to their mom. Hey, can we watch funny pet videos together?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because then they're connecting with mama. They're not
Yes.
connecting with mama. They're watching more screens.
More screen time.
There's no conversation and heartfelt stuff going on whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or with me, can we play a video game together? It's like, yeah, another time. We can do other stuff too.
Right.
Let's break out the board games or something.
Yeah.
So I want to ask though, from a spiritual perspective, how can we as parents, how can we as our families integrate spiritual mindfulness and intentionality into the use of our technology with our kids? How does our faith and how we love God and love one another as we love God affect the decision making that we have and that we use with screens?
I mean, I think in Scripture, multiple places in Scripture, we are told to guard our hearts, to protect our hearts, to be mindful of the things that we are consuming, be mindful of the things that we are paying our attention to, that we are paying our devotion to. Which is why I think that the screen time thing is such a hot topic for parents to discuss, for us to wrestle with on a daily basis, because I'm not just protecting and guarding my heart, but I'm doing that for my kids. And I'm trying to teach them how to guard their heart and teach them how to protect their heart and be intentional about the things that they're consuming as well. So I don't know. I feel like that's the spiritual lens that I look at all of this stuff. The things that I allow into my kids' hearts, the things that I allow into our homes, the things that I'm allowing them to spend time on. Like, is that protecting them? Is that building them up? Is it tearing them down? Like, is it teaching them to guard their heart? Is it teaching them to, do that, protect their heart for themselves? Like, that's kind of the lens that I look, at screen time with. And I don't know if that answers.
No, I mean, it does. I mean, we are the gatekeepers to our families.
Yes.
In more than one way. And, we let in what we let in. It's even, there's a YouTube channel that my kids like to watch. And they talk about, well, they used to be youth pastors. Like, these guys were youth pastors. And they think they're good influence. They're Christians. Then I watch the videos, and they might not be using bad language, but their behavior is incredibly irresponsible and destructive in the stores where they go around doing what they're doing. And it's like, they might have been youth pastors. They might be believers and even sometimes talk about their faith, or mention it. But the example they're showing isn't positive. So even with the input that we have with people that say they're believers isn't always necessarily what at least not what I want teaching my kids.
Yeah.
We are the gatekeepers behind it. And it's a difficult thing to manage. Cassy, I wanted to ask you, because you said that when you take away the screens, sometimes there's animosity then between your daughter and like it's, and I think that can be a very common thing. Why do you think that is? And, what advice or relief do you think you can give to parents to have grace in similar situations?
I think that just in general, like their age difference, I thought that they would have like a big enough gap in age difference that she would be loving and motherly, and they're not. Like, that's her baby brother, like, and so she really strives on, like, she loves to just make him angry. Like, that's just what she does. She thinks it's funny, just to make him upset. And so since they don't have other things occupying their time, that's what they do. They're picking on each other. Mm-hmm. She's picking on him. He's picking on her back. And so then it ends up to somebody accidentally getting hurt and then screaming and yelling. And so I think it's just, as a parent, instead of like me getting frustrated with that, I guess, to give them grace of just like, I don't know, working with them how to talk through those instances, and just how to handle the conflicts that they have. Because I don't know, it's the part I haven't figured out yet. I haven't figured out how to like get past that to where I don't give in and say, here you go. I mean, we have the conversations constantly when it happens of, and I, especially for my daughter, like always trying to tell her, like, you are the example, the way that you respond to this. Like, we have a kindergartner, you're in, 5th grade, like, you should know better at this point. He's still learning how to manage his emotions and what's right and what's wrong. But just trying to talk through and help her to be the example as well, and then myself being the example, and not getting frustrated and angry voice, because that's what she sees. When she sees me getting upset at them and the way that I respond, that's how she learns to respond with him as well, I think. So trying to keep ourselves in check as well.
It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, I was speaking with one of my kids yesterday, about emotions, right? And there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of stuff there, and I think part of the problem that we've seen come up is actually related to how much screen time, and it's because we want the peace, we give them the screen. Because we want some calm, we give them the screen. Because my kids fight, we give them the screen to say, okay. And as a result, at least in my family, they haven't necessarily learned how to appropriately deal with different emotions and how to appropriately deal with conflict without having to have mom and dad step in and fix it. But we don't even fix it. We numb it with a screen. And so at the end result of that, I think, at least in my kid, has been anger. That as an emotion is a message to our brain that there's a perceived injustice, right? When God gets angry, it's not a perceived injustice. There's a legitimate injustice. And so his is righteous anger. Ours is usually self-righteous anger because it's a perception, right? And it's almost like when we take something away, they take it personal. When the time limit's up, they take it personal. It's an affront to them. When they're in the middle of something and another sibling comes up and says, hey, can I ask you this question, or would you help me with this? It's like a what? Like a biting back. That can't just be my kids, right?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, and I think that's part of the problem is that everything in our culture is treated like it's in a personal affront. Somebody says or looks or asks something in a way because we're always so focused on being numb that we never actually grow and mature to deal with what is it like to be sad. It's okay. You want the screen. You're sad. Don't be angry about it. There's a loss. Why is that so important, right? Why is that become an idol?
Yeah.
And they do. They become idols for us. And it's really dangerous. I don't know if that necessarily speaks into your situation. That's my situation of really realizing over the past few days with some of my kids, the anger that's there resultant from us making them comfortably numb, not to quote wonderful Pink Floyd, but
I think part of it too is the difference, because I played video games a lot. I was a single child, an only child, so I played video games a lot. But the difference is with my video games that we played, I was in an age where you just paused the game and that was it. If your parent asked you to do something, you paused it, you went and did it.
Yeah.
Versus now, one of the things that, my daughter always says is, but I'm in the middle of a game. You've got the online now where you're playing. And like if you step away, she feels like she's letting down her team that she's playing with. And so it's like she will just ignore until, she finishes that. And then I get frustrated. Yeah. That too. So I think that's just an added level of why she gets frustrated is because she feels like she's got a team too. That
you're talking about it's that FOMO, that fear of missing out. And that's a real thing in video games. That's a real thing. They even build it that way to get you to feel like if you don't get in every single day, you're missing out on something. And not just video games, but anything. Duolingo is like that. I don't know if you've seen the way the app icon changes if you haven't been on there to look at the language. Like I could show you, and it's like this old grumpy bird. And if I get on there and do it, all of a sudden it's happy and young and youthful. And look, you're doing so well. Yeah, it's crazy. They build that stuff into it.
I remember that we used to do that, especially We Fit. If you didn't get on for a few days, they were very angry.
That was the most sarcastic exercise game.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Just fat and happy, I guess. Yeah, no, that was horrible. Or they oof when you stepped on the exercise pad.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
I'm encouraged to turn this on. Not at all.
Really. Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah, I think that's a real thing of that. Can I just have one more minute? Can I do this? And that plays out into other areas too. When you ask the kids to go do a chore, to go do this. Well, can I do this first? Can I do this first? Can I do this? It's not a bargaining chip.
Right.
I've asked you to do something. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want you to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Why is everything bargaining? And usually the bargain has something to do with the screen. It's never well, can I throw one more pass to my little brother outside? No. That's never it.
That's never the...
That's never it. Can I finish this YouTube video?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to thank you both for chatting. I think this is going to be a lot of fun making these conversations for the podcast. I look forward to doing more and more. Visit with Mark Stamps next week. You guys are welcome to join for any of those. Any final thoughts of deep wisdom from either or both of you?
I don't know that I have deep wisdom, but sometimes I think it's encouraging just to know that you're not alone in this as a parent. Like, we all we're all doing our best to try to raise our kids, not just to be responsible adults, but to also be disciples of Jesus.
Yeah.
And screen time is something I know we struggle with in our house, and it's just nice to know that you're not alone in it. And it's nice to know that, like, you're going to fail. Like, when my mom was a mom and had kids in the house, screen time was not something that she really had to wrestle with, like their technology brings all kinds of different things into our homes that we have to try to teach ourselves to use and teach our kids to use. Teach them how to protect themselves, how to guard their hearts, how to be mindful of what we let in and what we let out, all of that. So, I don't know, I think it's just good to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it and you don't bring things to light and process with other people, or connect with a community of people, then sometimes we just let the enemy win. And we're not about letting the enemy win.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Cassie, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think just realizing that you have to have grace for yourself. We live in a completely different age than how we grew up, and we have different obstacles and things that we don't know how to navigate, because that wasn't how our life was. So just having grace and being willing to open and talk to people, and figure out, what's working for you, and just admitting where you need help and asking for it.
Yeah. And like anything, anything can become an addiction. Anything can become an idol.
Yeah.
And, as we raise our children to look to God, that has to be the priority. That it has to be okay to say, hey, this thing is you. Why do you care so much about this thing that it controls your emotions? Why do you care so much?
Yeah.
And to get them to critically think about that, because eventually it might not be screen time. It might be an unhealthy relationship. It might be, anything. Why does that thing control you so much? And so I think as parents, if we have that mindset of really challenging them to look at habits and desire and behavior, and to address that in submission to God, it will go well, but we have to start that at some point.
Yeah.
So thank you both of you for joining me in the chat, in the conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next week.
Next week.
Awesome.